convert the add a plugin in a Android Studio, then we can directly
Yeah.
convert our Java application, Java file to a Kotlin file. And how the Kotlin language will be, I'll tell you guys. First, anyway, you guys are comfortable with the Java. Let's learn the topics. Then the coding and syntax wise, we can see that Kotlin, how it is Kotlin useful. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
right. So yesterday we covered what is the overview of Android and how we can do a sample application in Android Studio. That till that we covered what is Gradle overview, but bit very fast. But now we can go very slow on each and every topic with a brief introduction. Okay. So today I'm gonna cover view and view groups. Okay. So what is a view actually? You can say in a screen, in a mobile screen, whatever the user looking at or whatever the user playing with it or touching the events, everything is under the views. So we can call it as a view. It's kind of a user interface, visualization interface, everything we under view. And we have layouts as well and resources. We come to that later. So what is actually a view? We can say uh, coming to that, right? So let's open the layout. Yesterday we defined one layout, right? This is the layout we defined. So here the button we defined, right? So button is one of the view. So there are a lot of different views are available. Let's note it down. So text view, right? Text view for binding some text, edit text. It's for input the information. Button give some access to that, and radio button. These are all common to any of the language or any of the user interface SDKs. But we have to learn it how to use it and what are the properties for that view. How many types of properties we can give it, then only you guys can know how to use it, right? So checkbox, spinner. So we can see each and every one with some examples. Okay, so let's get started with the button already. This is a button, right? So what are the properties, right? This is a property name, we call it as, and this is the property value. Okay, each Android view must be declared with layout width and layout height. These are the two mandatory properties for each and every view must consist. Okay, whenever you are defining any view, you must give these two mandatory fields. Okay, this is property name, layout width, and this is property name, layout height. So what is wrap content, right? So it has different properties also we can give it. So what is wrap content in the sense? Wrap is, so when you are just now you can see, right? Button is, I didn't give any kind of width size. I'm not mentioning this much size my button should be. So but I'm saying wrap content. That means how much I'm giving the text in the text, right? So click me, I gave it with like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters, right? Total 9 letters. Based on the letters which we are giving in the text, that will be resized in on that. So if you can look at the design, if you look at it, let me zoom it. Yeah, so see, click me up to click me how much it is there, that is resizing with that. So if you want more size on that, right? So go to strings, click me, right? I can append some data, something like blah blah blah. So now you can see, let me save it. Let's say click. Hello world. So now you can see, right, the button size is increased again. So that means we are putting the wrap in the sense how much the string size is. It is taking the width and height as accordingly with the string text size. Okay. So there are one more other property called match parent. You can see match parent, right? Match parent in the sense the parent element. Now you can see a relative layout is a parent. What is relative layout? I'll tell you guys. So relative layout is a parent for this button. When I give match parent for this button, you can see the button is increased its size and occupied all the screen of the width. Right? That means how much the parent size, it will be matched to that parent. If I give match parent to the height, that is also occupied entire height. You can see, right? Height, because why it is from center, right? I have given a property called center in horizontal true, right? So when I remove that, you can see, guys, margin. Let's remove everything. Now you can see button is occupied entire screen. That means it is matching width wise and height wise to the parent. So that is actually a property with a match parent. And wrap content is how much it is having a text size, that is accordingly resized it. So that is advantage. Okay. So you can specify your own sizes as well. Let's say I want only 100 dp. What is dp? And also I'll also explain. Okay. So 100 dp and 100 dp, right? So you can see that this is 100 by 100 button. It will be stayed here. So let's say I want only a match parent width should be match parent and height should be like 100. Then I can define like this. Okay. So these are the some basic properties. I can give different properties as well. Let's say when you type android layout intelligence, you will give all the properties. So android colon, if you give it and see, lot of properties are there. What are these properties and how we can use these properties, we can see. Okay. And the basic properties are text. I have given already text, right? So you can provide the text color. So we have defined some of the colors in a color xml, right? So get that one color xml color and then give text size. So I have given the text, right? I can provide the text size as well. So I can provide the text size something like 20 sp. So you can see, guys, size is increased and also applied the color of for the text. And let's say the background of the button is something like gray, right? I can still modify that. So what I can do is the background, I can give color something accent. So you can see the button color also changed to whatever I mentioned. So this is a these are some basic properties that can be applied for any of the view. This is actually a button, right? Let's see a few other things also. Then we can see what in depth of what is SP, what is DP, and what is a view group, everything. So we have a lot of other things like text view. It's a basic things. So the mandatory. You can see, right? Once I tapped in text view, by default layout width and layout comes into picture, right? So these are, that means these are some mandatory things we have to must and do it. So I can say wrap content. I can give some text for this. So where it is placed on top of it, right? If you can see it. But because I'm not specifying where to place this one, where to place this text view. So currently when I directly taking that, it is putting on top of the button. How to place it, where I wanted to, let's say I wanted to place in a center, I wanted to place in a bottom, or I want to place it in a below that button. I can define everything based on the view groups. So how we can do it, that let's talk about the view groups later. So let's see all the things about the views, then we can talk about those things. And you can see whatever we edit text, right? Input text. So input text, match parent, and wrap content. You can see, let's take for now it's linear layout so that you guys can visible that. And so if you guys can see it, so wrap content I can give, okay. So I can place a linear layout with button, text view, and edit text. You can see a button, a text view, and edit text. You can see all this my things, right? So linear layout, vertically I aligned it. I'll tell you what are the properties in linear layout view group. Button, I placed it on text view, and then edit text. You can see all the three things. So this is how I can place it one by one. So I think you guys can be confused. So let's talk about the view group items now. So how many types of view groups basically we have, right? So what is a view group? We call text view, edit text, button, radio button. These are we call it as view items. But view group is the name itself is telling that it's a grouping of items. It can hold some of the views under that. So that is called view group. So what kind of view groups we have, right? Linear layout, relative, relative layout, constraint layout, scroll, scroll view, and table layout. These are some of the things, frame layout. These are some of the layout view groups available in Android. So let's talk about one by one. So in a mobile application, if you want to arrange some the views like text view, edit text button side by side, that means either vertically or horizontally. If you want to arrange these elements, we can generally use linear layout. It's a basic view group item that is using in Android. So you can see this is a linear layout. It's a basic layout in Android, and this is a default syntax. Okay, so because we are using a Android namespace tag, right? For that we have to add this XMLNS because it's a XML namespace. All the layout will be defined in the XML. So XML, when you want to use any of the particular tag, you have to have a XML namespace. So that is why this is comes into that. And there is a mandatory property, definitely the width and height. What is orientation? That's what I specified, right? So when you wanted to arrange the view items in a vertical way or a horizontal way, you can definitely have the orientation. Let's say I'll put this as wrap content, and wrap content. Now when I wanted to arrange in a horizontal way, I can specify horizontal, and now I can see these are placed horizontally, right? Let's say horizontally, but these are not sharing the width equally, right? So it is based on the text, it is resizing to that. But if I wanted to place them in a equally shared width, So there is a property again in linear layout called Android. You can specify Android weight. You can see layout weight. I can specify a 1 or 3. 3 means there should be 3 separations and equally distributed to 3 items. So now what I can do is I because I'm now trying to do the width wise there should be equally distributed, right? So what I can say is I should not give like a wrap content or match parent or any of the value. So what I have to do is just specify 0 dp. Okay, you can see, right, it is showing an error, but we can cover that. Okay, and layout weight 1. What it does is we have a parent layout with a 3 weight. That means there is a equal distribution. If you want equal distribution or if you want the button should be more than these, you can give 1.5 also. That means you have to share that 3 layout weight to these three child items. Okay, you can specify layout weight again, and I can specify 1 0 dp again, and 0 dp weight again 1. Okay, now I can, when I see the screen, right, so you can see the screen is equally distributed, a bit more on the button, but by why, because right, layout weight is 1.5. Let's specify 1. Now you guys can see this is the screen width is equally distributed to each and every view of that under that particular view group. You guys understanding, right? That is how we can distribute the, let's say you have a complex view interface, and you wanted to equally distribute everything, then you can use this property layout weight. Okay, this is a horizontal way we can set it up. And if you want in a vertical also, the similar way. So vertical is dealing with the height. So that is why you can see, guys, right, there is an error, because horizontal is related to the width wise and vertical is related to the height wise. So you have to specify. Let's talk match parent I can take. Okay. So when we want to do it, for that you have to give this one 0 dp to height, not for uh, width. Now you can see now this is vertically equally distributed on the screen. So the button and text view and edit text. So this is way how we can distribute our entire screen to any elements, any number of elements. Now I took only a 3 elements, right? You can take 10 elements or 15 elements, and you can specify the weight accordingly. You can specify 3, and you can equally distribute it to among all based on the percentages, how much percentage it requires. So based on that you can assign. Okay, so let's say I want edit text should be 2 parts, that will be increased. Based on that you can specify anything. Okay, you understand, right, guys? So this is one of the feature in relative layout. It's a view group. Okay, let's talk about let's create one more layout and see the relative layout, the next view group item. Let's create one more, and let's do it relative layout. Relative. Okay, so when I click on relative layout, the same thing. Android XML namespace along with the layout width and layout height. These are the basic properties. What is relative? You can see the name specifying, right? A relative. It's a relation between the views. But coming to this one, right? Linear layout. Linear is what? Linear is in the sense it's a sequential order, sequentially or linearly. That means it's a vertical wise or a horizontal wise. Linearly, these will be arranged. But the naming itself, it is specifying. Okay. And coming to the relative layout, right? Relative layout is specifically saying the relation between the views. So any view when we are defining in a relative layout, there should be some relation to between the views. What is kind of a relation, and let's talk about that. So let's take a different one, like edit text. Okay, match parent, unwrap content. So properties of edit text again, we'll see. Okay, so currently we are checking this one. So the view group items, then we talk about this one. So I defined a view, and I can see this. This is like, this is the my view. Now I wanted to define one more view. You can see guys, what are the views are available. You can see here button, image view, recycler view, fragment. These are all we'll know it, okay, later point of time, don't worry. These are common things. Text related, text view, plain text, password. You can see the buttons, button, image button, checkbox, radio button. These are all the different view items available. Okay, view, image view, lot of things are there. We can see all the things. Okay, constraint layout, linear layout. Okay, and containers. We have a lot of things. Google related, legacy. Okay, now let's see. Let's put one more thing called button, because we learned these things. Button, wrap content, and text. Text is something like click. Okay, if you can guys observe it, what is observed it? Okay, I defined edit text and both button, but I can see only button. Why? Because button is defined as last. That is why it is placed over the edit text. Okay, you can see edit text is also part of it. It is under the button, but it is not visible to the user, right? Now in the relative layout, that is where we have to define the relation between both. Before giving the relation, there is some identification to each and every view is very important. So each and every view or every view group items, there should be a identification. We can define the identification as Android ID. This is the ID. It is uniquely identifies in the entire application for each and every view. Okay, I can define at the rate plus id slash, I can give my whatever I want, right? My edit text, you can give my edit text. I can specify this is my id. Okay, that is uniquely identified. I can give for button as well, id my button. Okay, now I specified the ids for that each and every view. Now I wanted to specify the relation. I wanted to view the edit text as well in that. So button, I want the button should be placed under the edit text. How we can specify? There is a property of relative layout existed for each and every view is Android layout below. Okay, below in the sense this button property I wanted to place under a specific view. Let's say my XML layout has a lot of views, but I want this button should be placed under a specific view. I can specify that. I can see that, right? Suggestions where you can place it. I have my edit text, right? I can specify edit text. So now in the design you can see guys, there is edit text and there is a button, so it is visible now because I placed under that. So that means both are interrelated. Let's say how it is interrelated, I specified just below. What if happened I moved that edit text, right? There is a property, right? I can give some margin. Margin top is actually giving the width specified. Let's say 100 dp margin top, in the sense from the top how where it is placed that edit text. So if you can see that guys, there is a 100 dp space is occupied as an empty space, and after that only edit text is placed under, immediately under button is placed. This is a relation because whenever the edit text is moving, automatically button is also moving because it is related to that edit text. It is always placed under the edit text only. So that is how the relation. Now I can have a different relations also. Let's do that as well, and let's place one more button, second button. And I want this, let's say, see, this is now the second button is placed on top of it, right? Initially each and every view items in the relative layout will be placed on top of it. Now this I want next to the my click hello world button. So I want to place next to the button under the hello world. So there are two relations I have to mention, right guys? There should be two relations. First is this should be under the edit text, and this should be right to the to right of my button. You guys can see it. This button is placed below the edit text and as well as right to this button. So this is how there is a two properties, two relations I mentioned it. And there are, you can see, right? So top, left, right and bottom, there can be specified four relations for each and every view. Now I specified two relations, below and to right of. There are other things like top, Android, layout, above. Above in the sense I can place on top of it. Let's say instead of below, I can specify above. Now I can see, right? Because there is 100 dp, that's why it is not visible to us. Let's remove this, and now you can see I placed center in the in parent in the sense I want this view to be horizontally and vertically to be centeredly aligned. That is a center in parent property. So it will be aligned both in ways and centered. Now my button is on top of it because I didn't mention this as center, either horizontal or vertically. That is why it is placed a bit right side. So I wanted to place in the center at least horizontally. I can still specify that. What is the property? Parent, Android. Let's specify Android. Center, horizontal. Specify true. So this is center horizontally specified, and there is a width because to right of I mentioned, right? So let's remove to right of, and now you can see it is centrally aligned. To right of in the sense it will be right to this button. That is why it is displayed that. So now I can see it's centrally aligned, but still it is a width wise only, not the vertical wise because it is on top of that. And we saw some, there are one more extra properties that is layout left off to left off. That means it will be aligned to the left to that. So I can specify edit text and I can see that to the left of it is arranged. So this is basically, you can see, right, there is a relation, it is coming up in the visualization. So that is called relative layout provides the way to relate each and every view in that view group items. This is how we can define each and every view So linear layout is sequentially or linearly placing the items in a horizontal way or a vertical way, and relative layout is placing the items based on the relations. So you can define any complex views by using this linear layout or relative layout. Why we have different layouts? Again, Android introduced recently. Android introduced constraint layout. Why that is required? We see that later. Okay, and these are the some basics. Any view can be defined by using these both. Okay, and there is, let's talk about the scroll view as well. Do you have any questions on this linear and relative? Let's get answer and let's move to other things. Do you guys any questions?
No,
Are you good
not
so
for
far?
now. Yeah.
Am I going bit faster or it's is it okay that frequency or
It's
tempo?
okay.
Yeah,
It's okay now.
that's great. So one more view group let's talk about is scroll view. What is actually scroll view? We have anyway relative layout and linear layout. What is the need of scroll view? Let's see at the challenge first. What is the issue then why we can come across with a scroll view? Let's talk about that. Let's say I have these many. Let's remove this. I can specify below. Let's create one problem, then we solve it with a scroll view. Okay, let's place these many buttons. I place a lot of buttons. Okay, below I wanted to specify one. So I can see one, two. So the last button is not visible, right? Till that, before that button only, I can see the screen. When you run the screen, also the similar way. Let's run in that. Okay, and then see activity relative, right? Relative. So let's run the application. So we are facing some issue in the code. So there is an invalid color we are specifying. Where we specified an invalid color? Let's see that. What is bicolor? In the activity 2, there is an issue. So let's remove this. Now rebuild it. So colors.xml, there is a invalid color. Okay, now the issue got resolved. We can run the application. White god is just missing of hash value. That's it. So I have to specify in hexa format. So hash should be there. Somehow it is removed. So that is why you are getting issue. That's fine. So when I'm installing APK, I can see launch activity, and you guys can see, right? So till 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons only it is visible. We have so only 5 buttons is visible on the screen, but we have 6 buttons under that. So why what happened to the last one? Because it is not visible in the screen. So this is actually an issue, not only for the buttons. Let's say you have some document kind of a text. You have to scroll it and view the text, entire text. So if you define with a linear layout and relative layout, it is a complex one. It is not possible. How we can resolve that in the sense, right? So there is a view group called we talked about. It's a scroll view. So it's a parent. Now I'm giving to linear relative layout, and I have to specify must and should required width. It's match parent, and must and should height. It's match parent. And again, this I'm going to be put as a parent for relative layout. Okay, now I can see that. Let's run it. So what specifies by the scroll view, right? Scroll view basically gives a scrolling to all the view in our visualization screen. So it provides some scrolling effect. So anyway, these are rearranged because the properties are missing when I'm using scroll view property view group, right? So let's see why these are missing from that. So we are specifying scroll view. If you guys can see it, scroll view is occupied entire screen, but my relative layout is occupied till only the center. Wherever the item still only that it is occupied. That is the reason. So if we specify wrap content the similar way. We can specify ID also, relative. Okay, let's okay. So let's say I mention something like 200 dp, then I can see this scroll. Okay, so 200 dp is also edit text. It is placed on it. So whatever the items, those are coming up. So zero started with one, two, three, and my button is placed on that. Zero button is there. Edit text is placed on somewhere in that. Okay. So let's define, yeah, we define some scroll view, right? So let's say I have some text view, match parent and match parent. So what is a basic mandatory and required thing is in the scroll view is scroll view must contain only one one child item. We should not contain multiple child items. So but coming to the relative layout, we can have n number of, sorry, we can have n number of child items. Even for a linear layout also we can have n number of childs. But coming to the scroll view, we must contain only one child item, either a child view, it should be a view, or it should be a view group as well. But it must contain one view only. Let's say when I try to define two views, when run the application, you will definitely get a issue for that. So scroll view must contain only a one view as a child. Let's say we want to run it. Let's run it. This one also. Scroll. So you can see, guys, right? My application has stopped. That means there is a crash happened. I This is a logcat actually, where we can see what kind of a crash it is, and we can fix it. Right? Where is my application? So company sample. So you can see, right? Illegal state exception. Scroll view can host only one direct child. That means scroll view must contain only one child. It cannot handle two separate childs. So I wanted to just remove it. Then it will be fine. So that is actually a mandatory thing. We have to learn it. Okay, on the scroll view. Let's take some this. Okay, Dorem lips dummy text. Dorem lips dummy text. Let's copy the text. Strings, place it on string. Dummy text. Place the text. So it has some unused items. So you can specify, right? So apostrophe s, we have to do it like this. Then you can see. Like, let's specify the scroll view text, dummy text, and few more text so that you can see the scroll over it. So let's increase the size of it so that you can see text size 15 sp, text color, some accent color, smart blue, blue primary. So applied changes. Let's go to this. Still it is not using. I want this should be scroll. So let's put and again the same text so that we can see the scroll. So if you can, guys can observe it, sometimes I'm putting on play button, run app, and sometimes it's another one. So what is actually a difference, right? So this is actually we call it as instance run. So if any small changes happen in the application, just like strings changes or layout, small changes, you can just go ahead on the instant run. It doesn't require to again build it everything and run. It's a taking a lot of time. So this will do everything. It will build it up again and it will do the run. So it is instant run is whatever changes you apply, it will be automatically reflected on the screen when you press on it. So you can see, right, there is a scroll is happening. If I not specifying any scroll view, you can't see the scroll. You cannot scroll to the content. So that is actually advantage of using a scroll view, and definitely it must have only a one child item. That is actually a constraint. Sorry. So that is actually a basic use of view group items, and I'll talk about this one constraint layout and frame layout. Table layout and other layouts are now not good useful. So constraint layout is the most important one nowadays. We have to learn. So and this one and frame layout we can learn about in the later point of time. So the basic wise linear and relative are and scroll view three are sufficient to have a user interface, good user interface. Why these constraint layouts are introduced in the sense I'll talk about later. These are some specific related like optimizing the UI rendering kind and improve the performance of the application. These are introduced, but You can still achieve with a relative layout and linear layout your application needed. Still you can do it. Okay, after that we can see later constraint layout and frame layout. If I specify these things, it will be confused. So let's do some examples with the linear layout and relative layout using some scroll view as well. Then we can get these things. Okay, and let's see some documentation. Okay, whatever covered you guys. So view actually the thing what we can see on the screen. Everything we call it as a view. It's a user interface. Okay. So we have text view, edit text, button, menu, scroll view, recycler view. This image view, recycler view, menu, we didn't cover it. I'll talk about it tomorrow class. The menus, how many types of menus are, how we can use image view, we can talk about it. Even recycler view, that is a later classes. And we have properties, right? So that are properties, colors, positioning, dimensions. There is a one more thing. Let's talk about visible and thing, right? So there is a visibility property. I can specify visibility gone, invisible, or visible. Visible in the sense it will be enabled on the screen, or if I specify invisible, it won't be displayed on the screen, but still the position on the whatever the size is, it is still occupied, but it is not visible. Gone in the sense it is removed from the physical size. So in the screen it will completely removed. Let's say specify gone, it will be removed on the screen completely, it won't be there. You can see text view is not there. If I specify invisible, the width of it still there. You can see guys, there is it is already available in the screen, but it is not visible. That is an invisible property. And visible, it's a by default property, it will be visible, the content will be visible. That is a difference of visibility. And you can see focus, interactive, these are all we can see. What is click items. Let's see later tomorrow class how we can provide the actions to the view items separately. Okay, we can see that. So we'll do this sample example. By the way, you guys can start with the example. Okay, so you can define one button on top of it and one button below. Under that, take one text view with the background color yellow, and there should be a number. Now anyway text view we can specify the text, right? So define that two buttons side by side and one text view in below. What we can use, we can definitely, these are vertically aligned, right? Sequential order. We can specify with a linear layout as well, and also we can achieve with relative as well. So we can specify the relations between three, and we can still achieve with relative layout. So define this layout uh, for tomorrow class. Then we can get started some adding some functionality for it. We can specify some actions for these buttons, how we can modify the content of this text view, we can see it in the tomorrow class. So define this layout and get ready with that. Okay, we'll talk that tomorrow class. Do you guys have any questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you upload these videos after the class? Or
Yeah, I can upload it. No problem. Yesterday I have
uh,
recorded one thing, so probably I can
mhm.
upload you guys. You can take care of later. Hmm? I'll upload.
Yeah, can you please upload it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
do that. Okay, do that UI and get ready for tomorrow, so that
mhm.
we can add some functionality for that UI and see how we can interact in the Java code from this layout.
Oh,
Okay, so that you
okay.
can understand how the functionality will be and the business logic how we can do it. Then later. Okay.
Mhm. All right.
Any other questions?
Why do we when to use linear and relative?
Yeah, it's again depending on your UI complexity. So let's say you can
Mhm.
use both combination, not only a single. You can use both in the combination wise. So let's. I'll tell you. So this is I specified a linear layout. Under a linear layout, still I can specify a relative layout. Relative linear is
Okay.
also holding a relative layout. Relative layout is also holding the linear layout. So let's say in my complex view, some of the things are arranged in a sequential order, like a vertical wise, and some of the things are based on some relations, some complexity. Then I have to use a relative layout. So both can be combinedly used it, and still I can do some linear layout under relative layout as well. There is no specifically using of these things based on our requirement. Take the some UI and you can do it. But Android, what is Android suggesting is you should not increase the hierarchy of the view groups. So now you can see, right, this is one layer
Yeah.
level, and this is second level, and this
True.
is
Correct.
third level, right? That
Yeah.
means we are going in a hierarchical way. You should not increase that hierarchy. You should be in a way like you should be in a 1 to 2 levels. That should be enough. You should not increase that. Otherwise what is happening is Android system, it will take lot of time to render these items if you have a nested hierarchy. So that is why Android introduced constraint layout to remove these nested hierarchies. So we'll talk that later. But you
Okay.
when to use linear layout and relative layout is up to us. We can achieve anything with the linear layout and relative layout, and we can use both
Okay.
combination as well based on the UI complexity.
Okay.
You got the point?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So later stages I'll give you guys some POC project. So how we can achieve it, we can do that. So once we finished with these actions and Android components, after that just have a project and see how we can do one project. Only we are looking at one screen right now. How different screens are interacted, how these the data will be passed from different screens. These are all lot of things are there. There are a lot of interesting things are there. So this is a basic thing which I'm explaining you guys. So just go through it and read it. What is linear again? What is relative? How we can use it and do that sample. So placing a button on top and button below and between text view. Then whenever you complete the class, you can finish that off, right? You can be remembered always. If you're not trying that, right, you will be forgetting what I'm telling. So do that exercises, then come with a fresh and any questions with that. Then the tomorrow classes we can discuss about those things. So that will be easier for you guys to understand the Android. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. We'll do it. And please upload the video and send us the link so that we can watch
Definitely.
it again, and we will do it if we have any questions.
Right. Definitely I'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. So we'll meet tomorrow class. We'll see how we can provide the actions for the views, and in the Java code how we can write the business logic. Everything we can do it tomorrow class. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much
Okay.
for joining. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.